No, it's great to be able to speak to you because, funnily enough, I saw the film at the start of the year in New York with you in attendance at the Tribeca, the '92 Tribeca event with the double with Phantasm.
Oh wow, that was a fun night. Yeah, so I remember that. That was great.
Yeah, it was so great to see the film on the big screen because we only had a very limited sort of festival run with the film in Melbourne. I only played at one screening, but it was so brilliant to be able to see it with Phantasm, and obviously yourself in attendance. So it's great to be able to speak to you.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad you were able to come all the way up to that.
Yeah,
I'm sure you're for other things.
It's great to be able to see films, in a different country that you may not be able to see in your hometown. But one of the things that sort of first led me to the film, and I remember seeing them all over New York when I was walking around, was the wonderful key art poster for the film, the hand-drawn art. And just to sort of get the interview started, I was wondering if you could sort of talk about the creation of that poster, because for me it really kind of encapsulates all that's great about the film, and it's great to be able to see hand-drawn poster art. It's such a rarity nowadays.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And we got a lot of praise for that artwork on when it was released, and I think it's funny. It's kind of a throwback to the '80s style artwork, which was kind of cool. But it's really nice to see when the artists get clever with it, and also when they understand the movie. There's a really, I don't know if you got a chance to see that. There was a second art piece for the movie, which just had the title John Dies at the End, but each of the letters was made up out of items from the movie. Like one of like the J was made out of syringes, and another one was the O was made out of skulls, and a lot of strange stuff that was pretty cool. And I think it gets folks in the mind.
Sort of looking at the adaptation from David Wong's kind of voluminous novel in a way, I was curious to know, when you were adapting the screenplay, did you kind of have figure points that you knew you wouldn't be able to realise on screen, or did you just sort of like let it all kind of flow out and kind of worry about it when you were getting closer to production?
No, I absolutely knew that I had to eliminate one gigantic section because it was just unfilmable in terms of budgetary cost. And I'll be honest with you, Jack, when I was thinking about making a movie from this project, the minute I got the first solicitation, which I probably told that story at the screening, Amazon.com sent me this robot email, and it had a new description of the movie. And when I read that description, and plus with the very amazing title, I was thinking, wow, this could be a really good movie. I'm going to get the book right away and see if I could do it on a low budget. And I got the book, and I started reading it, and for like a third of the novel, like the first 80 pages, it's like the bulk of the movie.
Yeah.
But then it just takes this left turn and goes into total insanity and super huge budget-wise. And so I thought, because I was actually cheerleading the book, because I'm like, oh, this is good. Oh, I hope it just stays, I hope it just keeps going. And then it just blew up on me, and I was going, oh, this is insane. But then I finally got to the end of the movie, and I figured out that, oh, maybe I could just cut that section out and, kind of fuse the front end onto that ending. So I had a path all the way through, like how I would adapt it, and that's how it happened.
And I think it's tremendously sort of toned in a lot of ways. And I had read the book previously to seeing the film too, and for me it just really it really encapsulates all the kind of craziness that's in the book, but in such a way that it feels fully realised, and it feels like something that could be happening in reality in a lot of ways, albeit quite an alternative one. I wanted to kind of talk about the production of the film, because something that really struck me was the marvellous cinematography, the sort of deep kind of lighting and the amazing sort of production design of the sets. And I've always appreciated that in your work, the kind of amazing shot construction you're able to get with your cinematographers. And how did you sort of go about realising the novel? Did you storyboard, or did you just kind of work out on set what you were doing?
That combination of things. I mean, obviously the scenes like where that meat monster comes into it, I had to figure that all out pretty precisely what I wanted to do. Thank you for saying that, because I really do appreciate it. It's something that, I don't have a lot of funds to work with, and so I make up for it in sweat, in that I just work long hours, days, weeks, and months prior to filming to try to take every little dollar that we have and stretch it, and to try to, look, one day it would be great to work on a film where you had a whole production design staff with huge amounts of money. That would be great. But I haven't really had that luxury, so I have to really pre-plan and try to think things out and basically make a handcrafted movie, which, for better or worse, is what we did here.
I mean, I think that just the level of spirit really kind of comes through on the screen for me, and I'm glad you mentioned the meat monster, because another part of your work that I've always admired is the kind of tactility of the special effects work that's in your films, going from the orbs in Phantasm through to the Bubba Hotep makeup, and in John Dies at the End, there seems to be a really intelligent kind of moulding of practical effects and CGI. And I was just wondering if you could sort of speak about your kind of interaction with the special effects and how they were created.
Well, look, they're all tools, and I had a great education making that first horror movie Phantasm that I did, because it's where I really learned that you could take a big special effects scene and just chop it into very simple, doable shots. You don't try to do everything in one shot. You have to construct a scene where you have models that can work just for the one shot to get the one effect across. And that carried with me, and now that was what happened with the meat monster. I think the big breakthrough was I always figured that guy would have to be some kind of digital creation. But the more I looked into that, they just didn't look that great. And then I saw an illustration that a friend of mine did for me, and I could see that, you could put a man in a suit. And so once I had that as the main effect to work with, then we could go and take the suit and then add some digital enhancements, like have that fish slide up the meat monster's back and things like that.
No, it's so refreshing to see it on screen, particularly in genre works now that seem to have such a reliance on digital effects. To be able to have that integration is really tremendous. One of the other things that I think that you've always done very well, even I know you've been mentioning that you always have limited budgets, but you always seem to cast your films incredibly well and really encapsulating great on-screen characters. And John Dies at the End has got such a tremendous kind of ensemble cast in a way. And I just wanted to kind of go through a few of the actors and speak about how you've worked with them, particularly the two leads, Chase Williamson and Rob Mays. The chemistry between them on screen is like incredible. Did they meet beforehand and do a lot of kind of auditioning and pre-rehearsing, or was that sort of like a really quick process just because you're on such a tight schedule?
Well, the casting went pretty traditionally, so it was a bit quick. But that was maybe one of the blessings of the movie, was to meet both those two guys, because they're good actors, and they're young, and yet they were really decent, nice guys, and the two of them bonded quite well, and so the humor was pretty effortless between them, and the Chase Williamson had the ability to play that really befuddled straight character, and John could play this goofy sweetness that was wonderful. And I'm telling you, that was one of the great breakthroughs of the movie, was because we were limited by budget. We couldn't really hire seasoned actors. We had to go with unknown guys who hadn't really done much. And so those two guys walked in, and they were great, and we were able to make the movie. In fact, when we were making the movie, I had a clause in the contract with the financiers where, we had to find unknown actors. And I said in the clause that if we weren't able to find suitable unknown actors, that we we could abandon the movie because I just didn't think I could make the movie if we didn't find the right guys, and luckily we did. So that was fantastic.
That's brilliant. And well, it's interesting you say that you had that kind of clause in a way, because you did manage to attract quite a few kind of named actors as well, including Paul Giamatti obviously, and one of my favourites, Clancy Brown. How did they sort of both of them get involved with the project? Was that just through agents or interest in the material, or what was that about?
Well, Paul came about because I found out he was a big fan of Bubba Hotep, and I got to meet him, we talked about it, and then I had this idea of including him in a sequel to Bubba Hotep, playing Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, and so I pursued that, but we were unable to get the financing together, and then it kind of fell apart. So then when I was making John Dives, Paul has got a great interest in genre stuff, and I gave him this script, and he was very excited to read it and happy to work on the movie, so that was great. Similar thing with Clancy. I mean, I think that, I found out was a fan of Phantasm. And, he'd been in so many classic genre movies himself, and then I was able to beat him, and, and all of these guys worked on the film for, much less than what they would usually get, and it was really wonderful for us.
Yeah, no, it's a tremendous task in so many ways. Kind of taking the turn now into looking at where the film goes after you made it. I know in the United States there's a big advent of day and date VOD releasing, and we don't have that so much in this country as such. And I was just wondering, as someone who's obviously produced a lot of genre works and a lot of works that have been on a limited budget, does having the advent of VOD assist you in getting projects off the ground? Does it give you an extra kind of avenue to pursue with financing?
Well, it didn't on this film, because when we started, getting going, the video on demand was not really popular just yet, and it became popular as we finished the film. So no, but I do think that it provides a resource for some level of funding that disappeared. In the States, the DVD market has gotten very difficult, and there's not as much funding comes out of that anymore, and so the video on demand has replaced that somewhat here. But all of it is very challenging because there's just not as much money coming back from the sales of films in the DVD market, and so consequently you're seeing that a lot of lower budgeted movies are being made for even cheaper than they were back 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. No, we can kind of see that as well. It's interesting because the film is, every time I've seen it to the crowd twice now, and everyone always kind of gets into it so much, particularly fans of the book too. Obviously, there's the sequel book, This Book Is Full of Spiders, by David Wong, and I know you mentioned briefly at the screening that I attended that you had kind of flirted with the idea of looking at adapting that to the screen. I was just kind of curious on where that kind of production was lying at the moment.
I haven't really done much in that direction. I've been working on some other things, and it's still playing out in the international markets. I think that there may be there's interest in some respects, because I got some solicitations for somebody talking about a TV series for the John Dies at the End thing, and so I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a movie or if it'll be a TV, or if it's just going to just be the one movie. It's all kind of unclear right now. But
the material.
The fact the folks are talking.
Don?
Yeah, hi.
There you go. No, excellent. I've been cut off, but no, that's fine. No, but look, I just think it's marvellous that people are engaging with the film and seeing it. And as I said, as a long-time fan of your work, I wish that the film gets out there as further as possible, because they don't make movies like this anymore, in my opinion. And I'm glad that you did. So I'll that's all right. right, I'll head off before we get ultimately disconnected. But thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to the next Coscarelli opus.
Zach, you've been just too kind. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we can meet up one of these times in the future. If I'm ever in the screening, come over and say hi to me.
I will do next time, Don, indeed. And likewise, if you ever make it down to Australia, you'll definitely have a good cinematic home to visit.
Absolutely. It sounds great. All right. Well, you have a perfect afternoon. I'll talk to you later.
Great time, too. Good luck with everything. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.